This is what Greg Biffle has to say about his career, his retirement, and the struggles of Roush Racing. Biffle started from the bottom, racing at local tracks, working on his own cars, and taking risks that many would avoid. So in this episode of Dale Jr. Download Classics, Biffle talks about the challenges he faced, the turning points in his career, and the downfall of one of NASCAR's most successful teams. Greg Biffle had an incredible career in NASCAR. He started small but worked hard and became one of the best drivers of his time. He had to move from one place to another, build cars, and take chances that many people would hesitate to take. His retirement was not just about stepping away from racing, it was about everything that led to that point. Biffle did not grow up thinking he would become a NASCAR driver. Like many others, he started racing at local tracks, competing against strong racers in smaller series, and he quickly proved that he was talented. In 1995, he had 27 wins and finished second to Larry Phillips in the Pacific Coast Division standings. That was an impressive record. During this time, NASCAR had a system where drivers could choose two tracks and accumulate points from those races. Biffle focused on these and made a name for himself. At that time, he was racing in the Winston Racing Series, a series designed to give drivers exposure before moving up to bigger events. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was also in that series, but on the East Coast, while Biffle raced on the West Coast. Their paths were different, but they were both working toward the same goal, getting noticed by the right people. One day, Biffle got a call that would change his life. He was working at a small shop building cars with just a few people, and there were only 3 or 4 of them. And they were about to go to lunch when his parts guy paged him. The call was from Jeff Smith, an executive from Roush Racing. Biffle did not recognize the name at first, but he answered anyway. That decision changed everything. At that time, Roush Racing had a truck series team in Michigan. Many people think NASCAR teams are based only in North Carolina, but this one was not. When Biffle joined, he had to move to Michigan. He had a lot going on. He was running a business, building cars, and trying to figure out his future. But when a chance like this comes, you do not hesitate. Moving to Michigan was a big step, but it was worth it. He spent 3 years in the truck series, learning the sport at a higher level. After that, he moved to the Busch Series, which is now called the Xfinity Series, and later the Cup Series. His journey through NASCAR was not easy, but he made the most of every opportunity. Biffle's time with Roush Racing was the most important part of his career. He won races and championships, proving that he was one of the best. However, over time, the team started to struggle. Roush Racing, once one of the strongest teams in NASCAR, began to decline. It was tough to see, but it was a reality that many teams face. Biffle knew that every driver's career has an endpoint. He had been racing for years, putting everything into it. At some point, the wins became harder to get, and the competition became tougher. He had to think about what was next. Retirement was not an easy decision, but it was the right one. When he retired, it was not because he lost his love for racing. He still loved the sport, the cars, and the competition, but he knew that the time had come to step away. He had accomplished so much, and there was nothing left to prove. Roush Racing was once one of the most dominant teams in NASCAR. At its peak, it had 5 competitive cars in the track and was nearly unbeatable, but things changed. And today, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing is no longer the powerhouse it used to be. Greg Biffle, a key part of Roush's success, recently explained what went wrong. In his view, the main reason for Roush's downfall was technology. Biffle shared his thoughts in an interview with Dale Earnhardt Jr. He said that Roush Racing failed to keep up with the technological advancements in NASCAR. Other teams invested in new technology, while Roush stuck to old methods. According to Biffle, the team didn't have a competition director for a long time, and meanwhile, rival teams like Joe Gibbs Racing and Richard Childress Racing had already made the necessary changes. Technology has always been an important part of motorsports. In NASCAR, even a small improvement in a car's setup can make a big difference on the track. Teams use advanced computer simulations, wind tunnel testing, and real-time data analysis to improve performance. Over the years, the use of technology has increased, and teams that adapt quickly gain an advantage. Joe Gibbs Racing, Hendrick Motorsports, and Team Penske were among the teams that invested heavily in technology. They hired experts, used data analysis, and made adjustments to their cars based on real-time feedback. Meanwhile, Roush continued to rely on traditional methods. Jack Roush believed in doing more with less, but that approach eventually put them behind. During the early 2000s, Roush Racing was at the top. They had 5 strong drivers who were winning races regularly. In 2005, all 5 of their drivers made it to the playoffs. That year, Roush drivers won 15 races, making them the most dominant team in NASCAR, but by the late 2000s, things started to change. One major issue was leadership. Biffle pointed out that Robbie Reiser, a key figure at Roush, was put in charge of competition too late. Even when he was given the role, he wasn't provided with enough support. Reiser was good at managing the shop floor, but NASCAR was moving toward a more technology-driven approach, and Roush failed to adjust. While other teams made progress, Roush remained stagnant. This allowed rivals to catch up and eventually surpass them. Richard Childress Racing, which had struggled for a while, made improvements and started winning again. Meanwhile, Roush drivers were no longer as competitive as before. NASCAR has gone through many changes over the years, and in the past, teams relied heavily on mechanical skill and driver talent. Today, technology plays an even bigger role. Cars are now built using advanced computer modeling, and race strategies are determined using artificial intelligence and data analytics. Aerodynamics is another area where technology has become crucial. Wind tunnel testing helps teams improve their car designs, making them faster and more efficient. Roush failed to keep up with these advancements, and as a result, their cars became less competitive. Another factor that hurt Roush was their driver lineup. In the early 2000s, they had stars like Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, and Greg Biffle. But over time, these drivers left or retired, and Roush struggled to find strong replacements. Newer teams were offering better deals and more advanced equipment, making it harder for Roush to attract top talent. Biffle also spoke about the role of the driver versus the car in NASCAR. He explained that while driver skill is important, having a fast car makes a huge difference. If a car is set up correctly, almost any of the top 20 drivers can win a race. But it all takes skill and strategy to put the car in a winning position. He also mentioned that luck plays a role in racing. A driver could have a great car but still lose due to an accident or a bad pit stop. On the other hand, some drivers create their own luck by making smart decisions on the track. In NASCAR, the best teams have a combination of great drivers, advanced technology, and strong leadership. When all these factors come together, a team can dominate the sport for years. But when one of these elements is missing, performance can decline quickly. Biffle was never the type to seek conflict, but when pushed, he stood his ground. He believed that racing was about skill, patience, and respect, but not every driver followed the same philosophy. One of the biggest lessons he learned was about tire management. Overdriving the car and burning up the right front or right rear tire was a common mistake among young drivers. Biffle knew that patience was key, but it was something he had to work on over time. Many of his early feuds came from moments where he was too aggressive and other drivers felt like he crossed a line. When Biffle moved up to the NASCAR Cup Series, the competition became even tougher. Every driver was skilled and every race was a battle. At this level, feuds were not just about racing hard, they were also about the pressure to win. Sponsors, team owners, and fans all expected results, and that added to the tension. Biffle had his share of disagreements with drivers who raced him too aggressively. There were moments when he felt wronged and moments when other drivers felt the same about him. He was not afraid to defend himself if he believed he had been treated unfairly. At many other teams, drivers only focused on racing. The engineers and team owners made all the decisions, but Roush allowed his drivers to be involved in shaping the team's direction. This created a unique dynamic where drivers were not just competitors, but also key decision makers. It made things more personal when conflicts happened within the team because drivers were responsible for more than just driving. Finally, don't hesitate to comment down your thoughts on this. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more upcoming uploads.